Hello and welcome back, folks. Formula Sim Racing here. As you may be able to tell, we have had a little bit of a switch of the cameras, which unfortunately might mean no usual interface that you can see on the screen. We will do the best that we can. I think we may have it in DX11 at the moment, so apologies for the technical issues. Hopefully we can give you the best coverage that we can now. A couple of minutes left of the practice session, and I am going to quickly try and go through the current driver standings and constructor standings. So, leading the way in the Formula Sim Racing World Championship is Mohamed Patel on 118 points with 4 victories this season. Might even be 5, I'll have to check. My apologies. Yoni Simicic, 4. Good stuff, Dave. The Aussie is on it. Yoni Simicic is in second place on 72 points, while Martin Gosby is on 65. Daniel Kiss, 38 points. Lars Brugman, 30 points. Michele D'Alessandro on 28. Close behind him is Martin Stefanko on 27, while Daniel Brewer on 23 has Michi Hoyer close behind him on 20. Both drivers on 15 points are Sander Callas and Eros Masciuli, while Florian Becker has 14. Jim Parisis and Camille Wieswer are both on 12 points, while Risto Capit has 7. Michael Francesconi and Blair Disley are sharing 6 points each, while Georgios Manasakis has 4 points and James Sadler has 3. The drivers on 0 points. Leading the constructors' standings is Musto Racing on 156 points. They've got quite a big lead now to flag Brem GP, who are on 84 points. In third place is the Ghost Speed Racing team on 75 points, while Avid Chronic Racing are on 47 in fourth place. Twister Racing are on 43 points, while Stormcharge Vod Bull Racing have 37 points. Invictus Motorsport are in a 7th place on 23 points, while in 8th we have Ghost Speed Engineering on 18 points, BB Madcape on 16 points, and Nerex Grand Prix on 6, while Born to Win, still born to trying to get a point at the moment, sitting in 11th place. So Dave, 30 seconds until the practice session is over. Obviously we apologise to the viewers for the technical difficulties, but time to try and focus on the race if we can.
Yeah, well, I think the start's going to be very exciting. I mean, the limited chance to overtake while the track is wet and drying, because everybody is going to start on option tyres. Sander Callas showed us yesterday how important that was. It'll mean a little bit of conservatism until the drying line gets wider, but it's going to be absolutely white knuckle city for the drivers. They're going to have to really be on edge to just keep it together and make it work as this track dries.
That they are, and also there's a bit of a tricky situation in that the left side of the grid is half dry, half damp. The right side of the grid is damp. So the start of this race, if you're starting on the left-hand side of the grid, it'd be tempting to start on dries. If you're starting on the right, it'd be tempting to start on intermediates. But once the race gets going, you're going to have to pit fairly soon.
Yeah, and there's really no upside in starting on mids. It's going to make you slow on the dry line, and it's going to mean basically an early pit stop and a compromised strategy. So you're better off just starting on the dry tyre and just accepting that you're not going to get the best launch.
Yeah, that is true. I just want to re-mention as well that the stream is being done in DX11 at the moment. As you'll be able to see, there's no additional information on the screen like we had on the previous stream or usual streams with the driver tower and the weather and things like that, because they simply are non-available. So until they are produced and tested, then on DX11 we're limited to what you can see on the screen at the moment. We know that it's not perfect, which is why we weren't streaming in DX11.
Non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
So, as the drivers get ready to form up the grid, once the formation lap is underway, I will have a quick run through and confirm the driver's order, but mention again that there are 2 drivers with penalties. Giordano Valeriano has a 5-place grid penalty, and he's going to be serving that penalty from the back of the grid by the looks of things. And Yoni Simicic does have a back of the grid penalty, which is why we didn't see him out on track during qualifying. So, Dave, as I think there's a few drivers trying a few things out on the grid at the moment, formation lap is nearly ready to get going. 52 laps around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. It's a long race. A couple of different strategies are available, but I will have a quick run through the grid order. On pole position, we have Fran Lopez, while in second place we have Martin Gosby, and we've seen that he's quick this season. In third place is Michi Hoyer. He was unlucky in Turkey. Let's see if he can do better here in Silverstone, a race that he, I think, won in style, in conditions a lot like this last season in Ace. Daniel Kiss is in fourth place, while Adam Maguire, in as a reserve driver, takes fifth, and Risto Capit on sixth place. Michael Francesconi takes seventh, while Martin Stefanko only managed an eighth place in qualifying. Rudy Van Buren showed some great pace last time out, takes ninth place, while Sergi Heras, sorry, I've been told to pronounce his name right, Sergi Heras, Mohamed Patel in 11th, Michele D'Alessandro in 12th, Camille Liza 13th, John Oak Saxon 14th, then we have Eros Masciuli, Harley Hamnet, and then Simoncic and Valeriano at the back of the grid. And if I got any of those wrong, I do apologise.
Impressive Maguire in P5, and of course he had a pretty good warm-up yesterday in Ace.
He did, and I did tell him that just after the race I did mention to him that he had said that the strategy call he made was a really good one. It's what got him that second place yesterday.
That and a bit of skill.
Well, yeah, the skill bit was his part, the strategy was mine, but there we go. I'm claiming dibs on that one.
Was that your call, Dave?
It was, yeah, it was.
Nice work.
It was a gamble, and I didn't know if it was going to work for him, but it did. But it took the driver to do it, and that's one of the things as an engineer. You can keep telling somebody what to do, and you can advise people what to do, but it's up to the driver to go and do it. And that's what the drivers are going to have to do here in the FSR World Championship. As this Silverstone Grand Prix is about to get underway. But for Fran Lopez, what a way to start this event on pole position.
So a semi-wet track, probably 90 litres of fuel for most of these guys, and just one strip of dry line. So it's going to take all the skill that this classy field can muster. I'll let you take it away, Dave.
Okay, so the drivers forming up at the back of the grid. There's a couple of drivers starting from the pit lane. Simoncic, Nell and Valeriano all starting from the pit lane, actually, as we wait for the last car to take his grid slot. And then we wait for the lights, and here we go. The lights are on. And away we go here in Silverstone, and it looks like it's a good start from the dry side of the grid. Everybody on the wet side is just losing positions. Martin Gosby started second, he's down to sixth by turn 2. It was a fantastic start by Fran Lopez, though, and Adam Maguire being attacked now. Pushed a little wide, no, he's sideways, and off the track he goes. He's going to rejoin at the back of the field, I believe, but for, where is? Oh, yeah, Adam Maguire, he's a long way back. Fran
yeah,
Lopez.
He's come adrift on the grass beside the village complex, and it looks to me like he might be marooned. He might be sitting on the T-tray, sitting on the underside of the car, which is very sad. He launched a very assertive attack on Michi Hoyer into the village complex, and it just didn't work out. He outbraked himself slightly, found himself in the wet part of the track, and he unfortunately is marooned and race over. Very sad situation for Maguire.
Yep.
So much potential for a really personal best performance.
Desperately unlucky for him. So at the end of sector 2 then, Fran Lopez still leading the way from Michi Hoyer and Michael Francesconi, who's coming under a little bit of attack from Rudy Van Buren. But just behind them, I think we've got Daniel Kiss and Daniel Brewer almost side by side. It's Daniel Brewer and Risto Capit side by side, and Capit trying to look up the inside into Stowe, but not able to do it. And surprisingly, perhaps, Daniel Brewer on the prime tyre in 7th place at the moment. So he's chosen to start on the harder tyre and go long. That could pay off quite well.
Well, indeed, he's going to form a bit of a truly train, because with only one strip of dry road, all he's got to do is keep it on the dry bit and say to the other guys, effectively, well, if you want to go around me, there's a nice bit of wet track there you can use. And of course, on a dry tyre, it's not an option they can take up. So as long as he keeps it parked on the dry bit, he's going to be impossible to pass. So Daniel is going to basically separate this grid now into two sections, the top 6 and 7th down. And he doesn't mind. He'll cruise around. He'll run long on these very, very durable primes. And Risto Caput, Mo Patel and the people behind him, they are going to be spitting chips and trying to work out how they can either pass him or talk to their engineers about an alternative strategy to try to get around him in the pit stops.
Definitely. I mean, on the prime tyre for Daniel Brewer, the benefit for him is that the cars ahead are pulling away, so he's actually getting clean air. The cars behind him full of dirty air as they approach the corners, and that's making it difficult for Risto Caput to get close. And as you mentioned, Dave, if they want to overtake, they've got to put a wheel on the damp patch, and that's what caught Adam Maguire, I think. He ended up touching the damp patch on the exit of turn 2, sorry, and that was it. Game over for him. Mohamed Patel also on the prime tyre, while Stefanko behind him is on option. So there are quite a few drivers that have chosen to start on the prime tyre, which is going to get interesting as this race goes on. For Fran Lopez, though, he's pulling away from Michi Hoyer, 1.1 second gap we have at the moment. Francesconi, though, coming under pressure again from Rudy Van Buren, and even though they're both on option tyres, there's not a lot that Rudy can do, because as you mentioned, Dave, if he wants to overtake, he's going to have to go onto the wet.
He's certainly, the body language of Van Buren's car is telling me that he's really going for it. He's getting very, very, very ambitious for Francesconi's position. And just harking back for a moment to the prime tyre conversation, in this situation with one drying line and nearly impossible to overtake, you could almost say, well, it's very hard to use the option. You can't utilise the speed of the option because you're just following the guy in front of you. So it could have been an inspired strategy call from Brewer, because what will happen around about lap 13, lap 14, the option tyres will start to go off. They will lose pace, and Dan will be at the really quick end of his prime stint. And I'm going to presume he's also overfueled. He's fueled for a long stint. So other people will start the pit and he'll put the hammer down, and some primes are still in good condition. And got a very good chance to do something good this afternoon.
Definitely. Now, just a bit of information for the viewers. I know you're all talking about what we need on the stream, but trust us, it's DX11. Not a lot more we can do with it, unfortunately. I'll give you the best information I can as we're going through. But bear in mind as well that we're not in control of the cameras, are we, Dave? So we don't always get to know exactly what you are seeing at home, but we will do the best that we can. But you're right, Dave, in everything that you said there. For Daniel Kiss, it could be an inspired decision. What he needs to do... sorry, not Daniel Kiss, Daniel Brewer. Yeah. What he needs to do is hope that by the time Fran Lopez pits, the gap between Fran and Brewer is not more than 20 seconds. If he can do that, all of a sudden he's in the game.
Well, Brewer is he's only 2 seconds behind Kiss, and he's endured the worst bit of these because, as you well know, Dave, the primes just take a couple more laps to sort of come in and start talking to you and start giving you the grip that you want.
Just going to quick off second, Dave. Rudy Van Buren all over the back of Michael Francesconi, having a look into Cops, but it's not going to work for him. He's had to back off, and now Martin Gosby closes the gap, but the dirty air is so evil around here that you can't take the old turn 1 anywhere near as quick as you would like, can you, Dave, in dirty air?
Well, it's such an aero-dominated track here. It's a very high average speed, and unlike a Monza situation where you've got high average speeds but using very little wing, here the high speeds are occurring in very long, high G corners, so you need that air.
That you do. Okay, we do have a little bit of a battle between Camille Wieswer and the Wold now, down for 18th and 19th place. The rest of the field, though, either spreading out a little bit or just holding station. Oh, no, actually, we've got Michele D'Alessandro and John-Eric Saxon. We're side by side, but John-Eric Saxon, I think, has conceded the position as his car was lagging around quite a lot on my screen. But Michele D'Alessandro makes the move up to 11th, and Mohamed Patel in 9th. He's trying now to... He's actually pressuring Risto Caput, and Patel is on the prime tyre. You were talking, Dave, about a switch over in lap times. I think it's come a little sooner than some people may expect, or than Risto Capit would expect, and being stuck behind Daniel Brewer.
Well, and also Mohammed Patel, who's our championship leader, who didn't have a good quali session, he's utilised that opportunity to put the primes on and throw the dice. So I think these prime runners are going to start to really get annoying for the option runners when the pit window opens.
Yeah, definitely. Now, pit window, I think we could be looking anywhere from lap 15 to lap 20. All depends on how the tyres survive for the drivers and how much fuel they've got on board. Because it doesn't matter if you look after your tyres and could do 20 laps. If you've only got fuel for 16, you ain't doing 20 laps. And the overcut around here is maybe something that your team, Dave, have told you about, that the overcut is so powerful in these cars this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the two stoppers will certainly run to lap 20. And if we see anybody come in around lap 15, lap 16, they're on a three-stop strategy, which Lucas Schmidt made work very well yesterday. He was stuck in traffic and unable to clear the car in front, so he went aggressive on the strategy, grabbed an extra stop, and did a three-stopper, so he was very quick on low fuel and made that work for himself. And he attacked two guys who were on two stops at the end of the race and ended up taking the third step at the podium. So it was a fantastic battle, which really unfolded about lap 43.
I thought we'd had a big crash then, but somebody's just decided to get rid of the DRS marker board as soon as we don't need it. Just seeing it flying around there. Sorry to interrupt you, Dave. So we'll quickly run through the grid as it stands at the moment. Fran Lopez opened up a 2.2 second gap. Michi Hoye still holding second place, and he'll be happy with a clean air ahead of him. Francesconi, he's coming under a little bit of pressure still from Rudy Van Buren, and as the track begins to dry out, overtaking opportunities may come around. Martin Gosby still on the back of that little train. Daniel Kish has pretty much nobody around him at the moment, and Daniel Brewer, the leading prime tyre runner, looking very comfortable at the moment. Let's see, 11.6 seconds off the lead. Risto Capit still stuck behind him, and Mohammed Patel, not a lot he can do, although he has recently got past Stefanko. No, sorry, he hasn't. Stefanko was already behind him. Mohammed Patel is just closing that gap more and more on Risto Capit. There is a little bit of a battle further down, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, mixture of tyre compounds, and let's see, Yerni Simincic is there in 15th place as well, and he could do with making some swift moves here if possible, if he wants to get his title charge back on track, considering that his title rival is currently sitting in what, ninth?
Yeah, Patel's in P9 at the moment. So what Patel and Stefanko are going to find, if they keep driving fast, they're going to be like a bit of champagne in the neck of a champagne bottle, and the cork is Daniel Brewer. So they can go as fast as you like, but Daniel Brewer is just cruising around on those primes saying, that's fine guys, take a place in the queue, you'll be needing to pit soon surely. So Daniel's really done something interesting for his race, and certainly caused a lot of problems for the people behind him. He's now 3.5 seconds back, or rather 3 seconds, 3.2 seconds behind Kiss. So Kiss is starting to get the options working.
He is. Just having a look.
Just got Capit, I think.
Yes, he has. He has, you're right, he has. I think I was on the way into Maggots and Beckett's. May get a replay of that, or the viewers will. But yeah, Patel making the move. So I think it is definitely now the time where the prime tyres are going to be much stronger than the option tyres. They'll be much more consistent as well. I was also having a look at the battle between Harley Hamnet down in 14th and Masciuli in 13th. I think Masciuli recently and Eras swapped places. I think Masciuli may have had a bit of a mistake, which has put Hamnet onto the back of him, and Simicic now closing in on Harley Hamnet. That's prime tyre catching option tyre again. And interestingly, up at the lead, it looks like Michi Hoye is trying to close the gap in now to Fran Lopez. I'm wondering if Michi's just taking it very cautiously for the opening 8 laps, looked after his tyres, looked after fuel, waited for the track to get nice and dry, nice and wide.
Yeah, well, Michi plays usually a very good strategic hand, and he'll be looking after his tyres. He'll be choosing when he's going to really open the taps and give it 100% effort. And certainly he looks like he's got a very solid car under him. If you look at his wheel movements, very predictable, very progressive on the steering wheel. And Lopez, on the other hand, I think he's got a bit of his car's looking that little bit more twitchy. That might go away as the track dries, but certainly for the moment, he's got a little bit of a.
He has. Just going to cut off a second there, Dave. I just want to mention that Mohammed Patel is all over the back of Daniel Brewer. He's just clipped the back of him. That may give the captain half an opportunity to attack as well. No. But yeah, Patel was so much quicker into the penultimate corner there, carrying a lot more speed on his prime tyres than Daniel Brewer, so may have a little bit less fuel than Brewer in at the moment, but Patel was definitely the quicker of the two.
Well, that's very interesting. And the other guys, Risto Capit, for example, unable to put a dent in Daniel Brewer's track position, but Patel's arrived on times and determined to make it work. I can hear some crashing around. Going there at Saxon had a bit of an off there, exiting the village complex. Doesn't look too serious. I can't see anybody
just
else.
going to cool off Dave SimRacing side by side with Harley Hamner into Brooklands. Couldn't quite get it done. Had to be careful of the damp part of the track. So as Dave finds out who it was that's had a bit of a moment now. I think it may have been John Harry Saxon and Sergi Heras. But Simičić couldn't make the move. He's under attack though from Michele D'Alessandro, who decides to back out of it, thankfully, as they make their way through the old turn 1. D'Alessandro's got a good run on Simičić here, though. May be able to attack. But Maggots and Beckett's, it's not a place to overtake, really. It's a place to set somebody up to overtake on the exit.
Yeah, less than half a second gap. And I'm just on board with D'Alessandro at the moment. He's got 318, 319 kph. All but run wide. He's understeered into Stowe. And that fantastic top speed has really not helped him much as he's been passed.
Mohammed Patel still closer to Brewer, not quite able to work his way past at the moment, and Risto Capit still sat there on the option tyres, which he's going to be using for at least, I reckon, another 6-7 laps. So Mohammed Patel might want to get a shift on, or he's going to find himself getting mugged by Risto Capit.
Patel certainly pushing incredibly hard through Brooklands and Luffield. The car's looking very stable, and he's really getting on the gas early to try to get something done with Brewer on the approach to Copse. And of course, Copse is really the dirty air capital of Silverstone.
Just to let you know that
downforce on that front wing, and although Brewer ran wide a bit, Patel is looking very, very hungry at the moment.
Sorry, Dave, we've had a bit of a crash. D'Alessandro was off track for quite some time, and I think as he returned to track, he's ended up collecting somebody. May have returned to track right in front of someone.
Patel is DNF.
How on earth has Patel done that?
I'm just looking at it now. Patel was following Brewer through Maggots Beckett's. I think it might have been a disconnect.
That is a disconnection.
Because there was no on-track incident. Real shame. Current leader of the World Championship.
It's devastating for Mohammed Patel. The only bonus for him is the fact that he has won 4 races already this season.
Well, he's got a 35-point buffer, so at least it won't change the overall perspective. I'll have a look at some lap times.
Now, I do know that George, the new cameraman, has been showing a bit of the action that I mentioned about D'Alessandro. He showed that a little while ago. Oh, and I've just seen a replay of it as well. I don't think he can be fully blamed for that incident there, unfortunately, but I'm sure the drivers will talk about that one afterwards. But yeah, what a hell of a race we've had so far in the opening 10 laps of Silverstone. Absolutely frantic in difficult conditions that hopefully are only going to get better and better.
Well, Masculi has just gone purple with a massive massive lap time, a 1:31.9. And most other people are in the mid to high 1:32. So Masculi certainly decided to unleash some pace. Maybe he's on an in-lap. It would seem a bit too early for me.
Well, I'm just thinking, I think Masciuli may have had a bit of traffic prior to the current stage he's in now, so it could just be that he's got clear air and he's able to push. But he has got quite a bit of a gap to Stefanko ahead and to Simoncic behind, but I do think it'd be too early to make a pit stop. Okay, just to update the viewers, we are on lap 11 now of 52. We will try and keep you updated of that. Usually it's something that's on the screen for the viewers. It looks like Sergei Eras, is he having problems or is he in the pits? No, I think Camille Wieswer, sorry, he is into the pits, so only 11 laps for Wieswer on the option tyre. I'm quite surprised that he's not done more than that amount of laps, but maybe that was what he's fueled for. Perhaps expecting a little bit more rain. And Michi Hoyer still trying to close that gap to Fran Lopez up ahead. But, I mean, if Michi Hoyer is able to run a little bit longer because he looked after the tyres, that could be where he closes the gap in the most on Fran Lopez. Looks like we've got Risto Capit. Well, we've got Daniel Brewer on the prime tyre, still a thorn in the side for Risto Capit, and Stefanko right behind Risto Capit now as well. And let's see, the gap between Daniel Brewer and the leader is 16 seconds, so Fran Lopez wants to try and pull out at least another 5 seconds. Stefanko's got a run on Capit, but hasn't got the straight line speed.
Yes, Stefanko's practice was a little bit impeded this week. He's been unwell. He's been off work with a bit of an illness, and it's really impacted his ability to practice this week.
Yeah, I mean, being unwell can have a massive effect on you. It can drain you, it can make you feel exhausted, you don't feel like eating, and even when you do decide to go and have a drive, you give it 10 minutes and then you realise you need to rush off to the bathroom, which then starts playing on your mind of, if I do race, what happens if halfway through I need to do something? Do I stop driving or do I just do it?
So the gap, the truly
David
great gap between Brewer and Kiss now is 9 seconds. Wow.
John Oak Saxon and Sergei Eras, or Sergei Eras as he first be called, they're still having a little bit of a battle out there, but I think the main thing to focus on for us at the moment is this battle, sort of second, third, fourth, because Francesconi's caught up to Hoyer.
Well, indeed, yeah, they're running in very close proximity. Goldsby, Francesconi, Hoyer separated by about 1.5 seconds. So they're very close, and it will, in fact, the top 4. So Lopez is only a couple of seconds up the track. So top 5 separated by 5 seconds after 13 laps. It's going to start to get interesting now. Liswa did pit pretty early, but a lot of these guys are going to start thinking about what they want to do now, because a few of them are stuck behind people they'd like to pass. And as we know, with this car, with a lot of downforce, high cornering speeds and no DRS, it's just not easy to pass.
You're right, it isn't. I mean, these cars are very different cars to what was used last season in FSR. There's no boost to overtake button, there's no DRS on these. So yeah, it's all about what the driver can do and trying to see if you can make the driver ahead of you make a few mistakes. The problem is, though, that I know a few drivers have been mentioning, is that you can be 1 or 2 seconds a lap faster than a driver, than a car ahead of you, and you can catch up, but once you get there, that's it, you're done. There's not a lot you can do. So, I mean, if you catch up the likes of a Mohamed Patel, a Michi Hoyer, a Yerny Simoncic, or even a Camille Wieswer from Canada, there's not a lot you're going to be able to do about it. You've really got to try and apply some pressure, and I must admit, it's something that got me thinking a little while ago about these cars where, okay, it's great that you can refuel them, but I wonder if by having refueling, it gets rid of the possibility of being in this kind of situation. For example, for Martin Gosby, sitting in 4th place, he can't go, you know what, I'll pit now 3 laps early, put on a new set of tyres. Because he knows if he pits early, he's going to have a lot more fuel, newer tyres, but so much more fuel that he's going to be 2 seconds a lap slower. So nobody wants to pit first.
Yeah, I think the only way to unleash a strategy and pit early is to add another stop to your plan. So pit early, go with a light fuel load, go with options, and go like hell planning an extra stop. So run a light car and plan an extra fuel stop. The pit lane delta here, including a stop, is about 19 and a half seconds. And with 52 laps of racing to do, you've only got to be about 0.3 of a second quicker in your car to pay for an extra pit stop. So I don't think these guys are going to be afraid to do a 3-stop as long as they believe they've got the pace in them. So you light fuel, options, and hammer down.
Yeah, I mean, I know, for example, when I was doing some laps last night, 100 litres on the primes are doing about sort of 134s, low 138s, 60 litres primes, low 32s. And that's the difference that the fuel load can have. So that's how you can work it into your strategy. Whether any of the drivers are going to go for that, I don't know. But I mean, Gosby's looking fairly comfortable at the moment, staying to the rear end of Michael Francesconi. And Martin Stefanko has Capit into the pits. He's making an early move. Is it going to cost him? No. Masciuli follows him in.
Now, one thing that drivers are going to be very careful of is the pit lane is wet still, and they're used to a drying line on the track, but when it comes to their braking marker for the pits, they can easily overshoot the pit lane speed limiter.
That they can. I mean, with the wet pit lane, as you mentioned, you have to be ever so careful. And when I was engineering yesterday, as Capit rejoins in at 12th place, when I was engineering yesterday, I was saying to my drivers, kept reminding them, when you pit, be careful with that pit lane is still wet. And thankfully they all managed to survive it quite well. But for Fran Lopez at the moment, Dave, he must be absolutely loving this. I just hope he's got an engineer saying to him, make sure you pit later than Hoyer. Don't be the first to pit. And hopefully he's got a window he can drop into, which we were looking at is down to Daniel Brewer. And I think Lopez still needs a second. No, he's going to the pits now. What's Hoyer going to do? Hoyer into the pits, followed by Francesconi. Martin Gosby's going to continue on. I think Gosby's going to take the lead of this race.
Pit lane getting very, very busy. I'll just send out a cheerio to the legendary World Championship winner last year, Jerome Quakel, who I believe is watching and enjoying the stream. Jerome, thank you very much for coming on board, and thank you for the kind words in the chat as well.
Always nice to have past champions watching, viewing, and I'm sure he's listening to see what cheeky comments I'll come out with today. Fran Lopez comes out on track behind Martin Stefanko and behind Daniel Brewer, and a lot of smoke coming from the back of Fran Lopez's car as it overheated a little bit in the pits. He's going to have to be careful of that. He's going to have to cool that engine down, otherwise it could cost him dearly later on.
Yes, we've got 18 degrees ambient today, so it's a bit of a brave call to go for a size 1, the smaller size radiator, which I'm sure a lot of these guys would have done, because, it's very easy to blow the engine up. It's still smoking like crazy, which doesn't look good for Lopez. He really needs to short shift and get those temperatures down, or he is going to have a barbecuing engine very, very soon.
Just want to mention as well that Fran Lopez is on the option tyre, so his strategy, he's got at least one more stop to do. Let's see, he's just done 16 laps on these, taking lap 32. He could do one more stint on the prime tyre. Michi Hoyer though has gone to the prime tyre, so has Francesconi, and so has Rudy Van Buren, and he has Yerny Simoncic right behind him now. Simoncic has not stopped yet. Daniel Kish into the pits. Martin
Kiss into the
Gosby.
pits now. That's going to, and Stefanko into the pits. That's going to give Dan Brewer his moment in the sun. Brewer will move into P2, albeit 14 seconds down on Gosby.
Yeah. Now, what's this going to do for Daniel Kish? I think he was what, 6th place before he pitted, and he may gain a spot. No, 6th place it's going to be. He's got Francesconi ahead of him, and he's got Rudy Van Buren behind him, and Yerny Simičić, who's now sitting in 8th place. He still has a stop to make, as I mentioned, though. But as you mentioned, Dave, for Daniel Brewer, this is good stuff. For Martin Gosby, I think in some ways he's just got to keep going.
Well, Gosby is still performing. His last lap was his best lap. So he's still got these option tyres working very, very nicely. And he's got clean air, no one in the way. And if he pitted now, he would come back out in P4, just ahead of Hoyer. So what he needs is for Hoyer to be held up a little bit in traffic, or to have not such a nice outlap, to take a little bit of pressure off. Now, Hoyer has moved to the prime.
Gosby in the pits. Gosby in the pits.
Okay, well, this will be very interesting to see what happens with Gosby and Hoyer, because Hoyer's fitted primes and they take another lap or two to come in. They're very durable and they are quite quick, but they're not super quick on an outlap. So Hoyer is now approaching the village complex, about to enter pit straight. Gosby has been fueled up and been released, but Hoyer is passing Gosby. Gosby's in pit lane, Hoyer is driving past him. And in fact, it's going to be very close on pit exit. Gosby is rejoining ahead of Hoyer.
Yeah,
So that is a brilliant move by Gosby.
Yeah,
So that was a lovely bit of an overcut there. Stayed out on the options, went hard. Fabulous move.
Yeah, I thought he'd be able to take the lead of the race, but unfortunately not. But he has jumped a position, jumped 2 positions actually, it might be. But he's under a lot of pressure now from Michi Hoyer, whose tyres are up to temperature. I've noticed as well that Harley Hamner DNF'd out of the race a few laps ago. Apologies if we didn't catch up to that one, folks. But Fran Lopez, I've been keeping an eye on him, and his engine has still been smoking a little bit, and he's now catching up to his teammate Daniel Brewer. Really, Daniel Brewer needs to keep going. Can't afford to slow down and let anybody past. Fran Lopez, he's got a little bit of a margin to work with. He can afford to lose a second here, and it won't cost him too much.
Yeah, I'll have a look at Daniel Brewer's lap times. Those primes should be starting to work fairly well for him now, and he certainly shouldn't have a very big fuel load, having done 18 laps. Yeah, he's still hovering around the 133s, low to mid 133, so, you know, not riding any records. And Brewer certainly looks like he's going to be on
Brewer
for
pits.
a 2-stop. Brewer's in, okay.
Let's see, is he going to go? He's going for the option tyre. I would have expected him to have gone a lot longer on those primes.
I've got a sneaking feeling Brewer might short fuel for a quick blast on these options, just to shuffle the deck a little bit.
Well, I'm going to gamble on he's going for 16 laps and 15 laps or something like that. It's 31 laps left of the race, so yeah, he can split that, as John Eric Saxon and Valeriano are both into the pits, and Martin Stefanko all over the back of Risto Capit. Let's see, yeah, Stefanko on the prime tyre as De Waldenell is making moves, but let's see, that's because John Eric Saxon was in the pits. So yeah, an easy move for him there, because he didn't even get to see him on the track.
So Lopez has certainly managed to assert this lead that he took in the opening stint of the race. The man who's got a challenge in front of him now is Michi Hoyer. He wouldn't have been expecting Gosby to slip under his guard through that pit stop cycle.
Well, I think Rudy Van Buren was a big loser through the pit stops there. I'm sure that he was in about 5th place, but he's now running in 7th place, and Yerny Simičić is now running in 6th, and he still hasn't stopped yet. Let's see, if he made a stop now, where's he going to come out? Well, there's actually a little bit of a window he could come out into, but may be able to get into the top 10, not sure.
Yeah, 19 laps or 20 laps now on the original set of primes. So journey is certainly going long.
I think something that might annoy Michi Hoyer a little bit is the fact that not only did Martin Gosby get a jump on him, but Gosby is now pulling away as well. Now that could be because Gosby is running a much lower fuel load, which if that's the case, Gosby's strategy will be different than Hoyer's. But Hoyer is going to have to be careful because Francesconi and Daniel Kish on their prime tyres are on a charge.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't make sense for there to be a big difference in fuel load because they've both put up primes on within 1 lap of each other. So you'd expect them both to do probably 20 laps. We shall see.
Well, as we've shown this season, anything could happen in the WC. Somebody asking on Sharon asking on the live stream, where's Patel? Disconnected, unfortunately, about 6-7 laps ago. Massive disappointment for Mohamed Patel. But Gosby, we're going to have to keep an eye on whether Gosby is catching Lopez, although Lopez is on the option tyre and still hasn't ran the prime yet. Sergi Eras into the pits to get rid of his prime tyre. That seems out of sequence for him, I think.
What is he doing? Let's have a look at his stats. Sergi Eras. Well, that was a 21 lap stint on prime, so he's just run long on the prime.
Okay, I thought he'd done an option stint. My apologies there, but thanks Dave for filling us out
Brew
on that
has
info.
just gone purple in sector 1. He's showing off on his fresh options. And he's 19 seconds from the lead.
Well, one of the benefits of going for the strategy that he has done, I mean, as you said earlier on, he was the cork in the bottle. He created a bit of space. But he created a bit of space for his teammate, didn't he, who was leading the race. So it helped himself and it helped his teammate. And now he's in a situation where he can just go and do fastest lap after fastest lap. He's tried to on option tyres and option tyres again and just absolutely go and enjoy himself around the Silverstone circuit.
Well, it's certainly an exciting track to drive. I tell you what, I tip my hat to Martin Gosby. That was a very strong opening stint on the options to be able to unleash that pace at the very end, and that's what gave him the jump on Hoyer. So very impressive. Let's see if he can do as much good work on primes. In fact, his last lap was his best lap. No, pardon me. He's not far off his best pace with a 1:32.5. He's 0.4 of a second behind his options pace. And he'll have very full tanks at the moment because full tanks and primes go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think John Eric Saxon may have just had a bit of a problem as the world now heads into the pits. They swap position and they're going to swap position again. Just want to mention as well that Daniel Kish is right on the back of Francesconi, but Kish and Francesconi, they're kind of in that window of potentially quicker than the car ahead, but there's bugger all they can do about it because of the dirty air. So time for them to perhaps try and get a little bit inventive of what they're going to do as Kish runs a little bit wide around Cox Corner, but manages to keep going, although he lost a lot of time through that one corner alone. So lap 22 has been completed, I believe, by Fran Lopez. We will try and keep you updated on that. It's so usual for us to remember that we don't have a lap counter. We'll do our best. But for Fran Lopez, it's been a comfortable race, started from the dry side of the grid on pole position, but a great jump off the start and has led since then, apart from switching positions around the pit stops. And I just heard the sound of car versus barrier somewhere, maybe. I'm not sure if there's a driver out there struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I can't see anything drastic happening with lap times, although Journey Simicic has just gone purple in sector 1. What is Journey doing on 23 lap old options? Well, he's just must be about to pit, I think, because that means he's probably got 5 litres of fuel left in the car, and he's decided to just trash these tyres. He's about to go in and get fresh ones. But
did you not know with these
the,
primes, you run these primes long, they turn into options. That's what it is. Come on, Dave, get with the program. You take these primes long, they turn into options.
Well, I'm looking at race view, and it's showing Journey as 23 laps in, still on prime.
I know, I'm winding you up.
All
Can
right.
tell you've been away for too long, Dave. You've missed mine and Felix's sense of humour. Oh, I don't know.
Now, I just might take a moment to explain, just to apologise to the viewers, why the standard of overlays, etc., there's not as many little informative things going on the screen for you. And it's because rFactor 2 has just had a massive upgrade to a new graphics engine, which runs with DX11, DirectX 11. And all those little overlays, etc. Yeah, Simičić is pitting as predicted, so he was running on low fuel and just taking the last life out of those primes. So all those little overlays, the token pole and the little weather map and all those little bits and pieces, they've all got to be rewritten to work in DX11, so that's the reason. So in the long term, a lovely upgrade for the game, for the sim, which should mean better streams, but in the short term, a little bit of a lack of information for you, so our apologies for that.
Yeah, I mean, we did say with the broadcast we would, I think it was leave them at DX9. However, with George coming on at such short notice to rescue the situation, he didn't have time to switch it over. But it does give people the opportunity to perhaps see RF2 in DX11. But as you said, Dave, yeah, it's going to take a while for things like the overlays and even a Delta Best or track map, because track map doesn't work with DX11. So there's a lot that'll need to be improved and upgraded by people to really get the most out of DX11. Simičić coming back out on track in 10th place. He's got a bit of clean air ahead of him, and he's on the prime tyre again. So well, he's done what, 24 laps on the prime tyre. He's going prime tyre again. What's he going to do? Another 24 laps?
Yes, it should be a quicker stint, because there's only 28 laps to go in the race, so it would make sense. He's got to run an option stint, so he'll probably short fuel himself on these primes and have to optimise his final run on the options. He's not out of this yet. He's 33 seconds from the lead, but he's just taken on a set of fresh tyres. A lot of these other people are now going to be pitting, so we'll keep an eye. We'll watch this space.
That we will. I mean, the battle for third place is still quite close at the moment. Hoyer, Francesconi, Kish, they're all quite close. Daniel Brewer is trying his best to close down Rudy Van Buren. Really looking quite quick on his prime tyres at the moment, and Daniel Brewer on his options, pushing them and getting the most out of them that he can. Risto Capit quite a way behind Daniel Brewer, so over the course of Brewer and Capit's strategy, it's not worked for Capit, and Capit has got Stefanko right behind him on prime tyres now, and Stefanko popping in personal best sectors. Well, the grid has got a little bit spread out further down the order. I mean, for Fran Lopez, I mean, I mentioned it a few times, having a fantastic race, but he really can't afford to make any kind of mistake, because he does have another pit stop to make, and it won't be long until he's making that pit stop. I mean, once he gets to lap 30 or beyond, he can do a nice shortish stint on those prime tyres. And Martin Gosby is doing very well at the moment to hold the gap at sort of 5.7, 5.8 seconds on the harder compound tyre. And then this battle, third, fourth, fifth, I think that might switch around during the next round of pit stops.
Well, I do too, and don't forget Gosby's the guy who did 21 laps. He did an enormous stint on the options, so how long he can run these primes for, I don't dare guess. So to be only 5 seconds off Lopez, what Lopez has got to do, as soon as his pace starts to degrade on the options, which will inevitably happen, as soon as Gosby starts to get any advance on him at all, he's got to dive in there, put on some fresh primes and take it home. So Lopez has had 10 laps on these options now. He ran 16 laps on his first stint of options. So it's over the next 3 or 4 laps that really he's going to start to find them not giving of their best anymore. And Gosby might start to get the upper hand. He's currently running, well, he looks like he had a mistake on the last lap.
Well, something of interest is that Martin Gosby, he's running the prime tyre at the moment. He did 18 laps on his options at the start of the race, so if Gosby can go deep enough into this race, he can put on a set of option tyres when Fran Lopez is on the primes. But as we're seeing at the moment, Gosby's pace is good on prime tyres, so even if he does go options, he may not be able to close the gap, because, well, he will, but it's a little confusing for anyone that doesn't know. Gosby will be able to close the gap when Fran Lopez pits, because Gosby will be on much lower fuel and prime tyre. That's the point that he will close up that gap. He'll need to close up that gap by 5 seconds. Will he be able to do that? It depends on how far he goes on these prime tyres, and then be on the options, and then hope he's got a chance of fighting Fran Lopez for the win.
Well, it would be a very nervous feeling. If you're Lopez at the moment, he's in great shape. He's 5 seconds ahead. He's on options, and life is feeling pretty good. But he can see there, his engineers will be telling him that Gosby is matching his lap times within a few hundredths, and he's on the slower tyre. So they'll be saying to Fran Lopez, it's hammer time, Fran. You've really got to lay something down now, put you in a strong position for the end. And I don't think Fran's going to be able to grab options for the run home. Well, he can't.
Yeah, he can't. He needs to run the prime tyre. Yeah,
this is his second set of options. So Gosby's got that luxury of running longer and then jumping on some options, and he may well have, a quarter of a second in hand over this final stint. So this is far from over.
Very, very true. Okay, still ever so close between Hoyer Francesconi and Kiss. Daniel Brewer, though, he's now finally closing that gap in on Rudy Van Buren. It's down to just over 1 second. So Daniel Brewer on a charge. A little further behind, Risto Capit has still got Stefanko checking out how his rear end looks around here in the Silverstone sun. And I think from Stefanko's point of view, it looks a bit wider than he would have wanted it to be.
Yeah, Brewer is going to be pretty close to Van Buren pretty darn soon. I'll just have a look at their relative lap times. Yeah, Brewer's running just under mid 132s. Van Buren, who of course is on the prime, is a little bit less. Slightly slower, high 132. So Daniel's got the upper hand on pace. Whether or not he'll have enough tyre life left to launch an attack when he gets there remains to be seen. He's 9 laps into his option stint, which doesn't sound like a lot of laps, but these tyres are, it just so depends on how you manage them, and that's why I'm pretty much in awe of what Gosby did in that opening stint on his options. I really am, I've got to say.
Very much so. I just want to make a quick comment to whoever it is on YouTube that said, look at that overlay. Lazy. Go on then, go and make an overlay for DX11. Because trust me, there's people out there that are trying to. So when they get one and they've done it, we'll use it. Up until then, have fun and watch the stream.
Yeah.
Don't poke a bear before you know how hard he bites. And it's the same goes for the Silverstone circuit. Fran Lopez under a hell of a lot of pressure. He knows that Gosby is catching him. And as you mentioned a little while ago, Dave, his engineer, if he's got one, has got to be sat there saying to him, keep it going, avoid those curbs, don't make any mistakes, you're doing a good job.
Gosby, a veteran of some 98 Formula Sim racing events. So a guy with plenty of experience. The most experienced guy on the grid is Mohammed Patel, with 139 races to his credit. And fabulous season 2 years ago. He and Peter Briak slugged it out for the season. Between the two of them, captured nearly every win. But now that Prix retired, Patel really is the heir apparent to this World Championship crown.
Well, Stefanko, he's got a decent run on Risto Kappa here. Risto Kappa taking an interesting defensive line into Maggots and Beckett's and Stefanko. Is that a disconnection? No, it's just lag.
Bit of lag, yeah.
I thought he was going straight across the corner, taking out everybody.
I
but
saw
no,
the
thankfully,
same
just
thing.
lag.
Gosby now within 4 seconds of Lopez. Lopez's time's going off ever so slightly. He's just above the 1:33 mark now on these tyres. And I think Lopez is going to, if he's thinking what I'm thinking, he's now done 14 laps, which isn't as long as his opening stint. But if his pace starts to erode, 22 laps remaining.
That's easily doable on the prime tyre. It's like I was mentioning earlier on. It's that time loss with the fuel on board.
He might want to get another lap in hand or two, only because at the end of 20 laps, he's going to need to have good rubber, because he's going to be in a dogfight with Gosby, potentially with Hoyer as well, Francesconi. So Lopez he's got to decide whether to take the pain now or take the pain in the final 5 laps, I think.
Yeah, so just to let the viewers know, at the moment, the gap between Fran Lopez and Martin Gosby is 4.4 seconds. When Lopez pits, the gap between Lopez and Gosby will be about 15, 16 seconds.
Yep.
And if Lopez does pit, he might find himself in a little bit of trouble, because Rudy Van Buren is only 19.5 seconds behind himself. So Fran Lopez had come out into that battle, and who's in that battle? Daniel Brewer, Fran Lopez's teammate. So it's all getting a little tricky. Kind of, Fran Lopez has got to open up the gap to himself and Rudy Van Buren by about half a second to a second. But what we'll have to keep an eye on is whether that gap between Lopez and Gosby grows when Lopez pits.
I've got a feeling Lopez might be on an in-lap. He just gave it absolute heaps. He managed a 1:32.1 last time around. That's the absolute fastest lap of his stint, which does say that he's now on low fuel.
Yeah, Risto Kappa is, or should I say, Martin Stefanko has made the move on Risto Kappa, because Risto Kappa has got out of the way and pitted. So that frees up Stefanko on his prime tyres now. It also moves up Yerny Simicic and Sergi Eras and Mashiuli. Kappa will come back out in about 12th place, I believe. Yeah, there's Camille Wiesler also pits.
So if Lopez pits this time round, it's a mirror image of his first stint. It'll be a 16-lap stint.
It will. I think this is the time to pit now as well, because he may just have that little bit of a gap to Rudy Van Buren to get out ahead. It's going to be tight though, and he is going for the pits.
Yep, he's read the same script that we've read, and he's pitting. Gets a very, very precise pit entry. He was just under the 90km/h limit as he crossed the limiter line. And let's see where these guys are. Gosby passes him now as he goes through pit lane.
Well, I'm on board with Daniel Brewer in 7th place.
Francesconi, Kiss have all passed Lopez. Lopez is now mobile again in pit lane.
And down the start finish.
It's going to be close between him and Van Buren. In fact, I think Van Buren's going to have it, because he's still hasn't hit the limiter line.
Yeah, Lopez comes out behind both of them by quite some distance, actually.
Even Brewer.
Yeah, he's lost. Has he lost a lot of time? He has. That was a long stop. Actually, it's a longish stop because he's got to put enough fuel in for the prime tyre. Now what we need to see is that gap between Gosby and Lopez. Does that go above 19.5 seconds or not? Daniel Brewer ahead of Lopez, still stuck behind Rudy Van Buren, but really trying to attack him.
Well, Lopez, interestingly, is 18 seconds from Gosby, the race leader. So this is becoming a very, very compressed fight, because Gosby's getting fabulous lap times out of these Francesconi
all over the back of Michi Hoyer, very nearly collected the back of him through Maggots and Beckett's. I've just seen on the YouTube replay as well that Lopez came out of the pits with a smoky engine again. But yeah, Francesconi almost collected Michi Hoyer. So sorry to have cut you off there, Dave. But
Yeah, no problem.
what you'll find interesting now is Martin Gosby's lap times. I think he may be able to go on for a few more laps. We'll have to wait and see. But his lap times compared to what Fran Lopez will be able to do now, Lopez could be losing anywhere between half a second and 1.5 seconds a lap.
Well, Gosby's only done 14 laps so far on these primes, so he can do as many as he wants. He did 18 on the options before, but Gosby's only got to do, it's only 19 laps remaining in this event. Gosby could pit at any time, or, well, goodness, is he going to run to the end on these tyres?
How many laps would it be, Dave?
33, no, he couldn't do, surely.
Well,
so,
I did see somebody in Ace yesterday did 39, and they were kind of consistent on that.
oh, wow, that's unbelievable. Okay. Well, 18 on the options tells me he can easily do mid-20s. But his other choice is to pit for options and go like hell on low fuel. And if he decides to do that, he's going to do that within the next 3 or 4 laps.
Well, the gap between...
I will be amazed if he runs another 19 laps on these. So he does 33 laps on the
I don't think
primes.
he will. Let's see. The gap between himself and Lopez now is just over 20 seconds. He kind of needs Daniel Brewer to make his second stop before Gosby makes his pit stop. I think that's kind of what he needs, because if he doesn't, there's just too much of a margin for error. Or not enough margin for error between Daniel Brewer and Fran Lopez, as Gosby posts the fastest lap of the race, a 31.9 on the prime tyres.
Well, just to make it interesting, Hoyer, Francesconi and Kiss are all on similar number of laps on their primes. I think those 3 guys will be pitting within the next 3 laps or 4 laps.
Fran Lopez, DNF! Fran Lopez, DNF!
What? Engine.
Oh, no!
That smoky engine.
It is.
Fran, you've just pushed the radiators too far. He would have been on radiator size 1, and he has cooked his engine. These cars have a life cycle of about just under 2 hours, 1 hour and 56 minutes, and that's if you don't exceed optimum engine oil level or safe oil temp, not level, temp. And you can only push these oil temps to about 110 degrees safely. If they're smoking, it means they're over 120. So it was just over the safe level for too long, and we're, an hour and a half into this race now. He has just shortened his engine life from 1 hour and 56 minutes. He's used up that 26 minutes and cooked that engine.
I mean, I feel for the guy. I do. I feel for the guy. But I mean, we saw him when he pitted earlier. That when he came out of the pits, his engine was smoking, and that was the telltale sign right there. As soon as that was happening, he needed to be on those short shifts and do everything he can to make sure the engine gets to the end. But absolute devastation for Fran Lopez as Francesconi into the pits, Hoyer into the pits,
and Brewer.
Brewer, yeah.
Okay, so Kiss is the only one of that trio that's still stayed out. So, no, terrible shame for Fran Lopez. And the sad thing about it is he had the pace to win. Going up a size on your radiator is probably 1.5 tenths a lap.
This could be close on pit exit between Hoyer and Stefanko. No, Stefanko ahead of Hoyer. And Francesconi's come out just ahead of Jurni Simicic as well. Jurni Simicic still needs to pit for the option tyre. But yeah, I mean, it is devastation for Fran Lopez there. But I think somebody's just given Martin Gosby a phone call and said, OK, mate, turn the engine down.
Yeah. Well, I think back to China 2 years ago, Mohammed Patel was leading, about to claim his first World Championship victory, and his engine blew on the absolute final lap. So even more heartbreaking. But it was very visibly evident that smoking engine of Fran Lopez, as he just pushed the cooling levels too far. And the only thing you can do to compensate with that is to lower your rev limit by having a longer top gear. But you're too compromised on speed. So in an event in these type of cars, so. No, Fran, that's so close to taking that victory, and really feeling for you, my man. But I'm sure you've got the pace in you to find another one. Gosby gone purple in sector 2, so he has put the hammer down. Now,
Well, it
he's
kind of
just
robbed
done
us
a
of a bit of a fight as
131.9
well.
on primes. So, is he trying to build enough of a gap to pit? He's got 18 laps into these primes, and at that pace, he's not managing them to the end of the race.
Well,
Kiss
let's
has got
see.
a pit. Does Van Buren have to pit?
Yes, Van Buren, he'll have to stop again, I believe.
I'm checking now. Yeah, any
Yeah.
moment. He's done 20 laps on his current tyres. So Kiss and Van Buren will pit, which will put Stefanko into P3. So really, Stefanko, who has recently pitted, I believe, Stefanko and Hoyer are the guys racing Gosby. So what he needs to do is to really, oh no, Stefanko's on 19-lap-old tyres.
Yeah, he's got another stop to make. Well, he was stuck in sort of 8th, 9th place behind Risto Capit for so long in this race.
Okay, Hoyer's the man. Hoyer is the guy that Gosby's racing. He's got 25 seconds in hand, so he can exit on the tyre of his choice and still be 6 seconds up the road from Hoyer. But Hoyer's the only guy up the front there on fresh rubber. Kiss hitting as predicted.
Yeah, so Gosby may want to wait until Van Buren makes his stop, or that gap between the two of them is over 20-21 seconds, which it is now because Van Buren is into the pits and Stefanko also into the pits. So that's just totally freed up the racetrack for Michi Hoyer, but also Martin Gosby. So Gosby now will be getting that call off. Come on, come and make your final pit stop, and let's go and take this win.
Well, Hoyer will start to do 131s on these fresh options. Gosby is doing 131s on the primes, albeit on low fuel, and on primes they've got a bit of life on them. So he's got, 5 or 6 seconds in hand. That's all he's got against Hoyer, because Hoyer will run to the end now on these options.
Does Sergi Eras have to pit again, Dave? Because he's currently running in 6th place, ahead of Rudy Van Buren, who's just pitted and put on a brand new set of option tyres. Daniel Brewer, who I believe was recently pitted as well with a new set of options, and ahead of Stefanko on a new set of options.
I'm just here in the pit lane, and his team boss is saying they're expecting Heras in within a lap or two.
I like that touch. I like that touch. Cover the microphone. Make it sound like you're down there. I like it. Gosby continues on for another lap. I mean, if he's got the fuel in the car, he may as well go up and pretty much pit when it's just about to run out of fuel. Don't run out of fuel, but just burn off the fuel in this car, because that'll help him open up that gap to Michi Hoyer. Oh, he's got traffic ahead of him, and they get out of the way beautifully. I think that's DeWaldnell. So yeah, DeWaldnell staying well out of the way for Martin Gosby. So yeah, he should be able to keep opening up the gap. But what other battles have we got then?
Gosby's running at basically round numbers of 132. Hoyer at 131.8. Hoyer's got the edge by a couple of tenths.
Eras into the pit, so your pit commentary was absolutely spot on.
So Kiss has pretty much got the chance to get onto Hoyer's hammer and on options as well. So Gosby, Hoyer, Kiss, and Francesconi's not far off the beam either. So Gosby needs to keep this very tidy, which no doubt he will. A veteran of Formula Sim Racing, whose career goes back to 2009.
Just to let you know, Eras came out of the pits in 9th place, and he's got Risto Capit right behind him. It's another option tyre versus prime tyre battle.
The leader is pitting. Gosby into the pits with 24 seconds in hand. Let's see how much of that he manages to keep. I'll keep an eye on Hoyer.
Well, let's see, Gosby.
Keep an eye on both, really.
Surely Gosby's got to be thinking option tyre here, 12 laps. Yes, it is the option tyre.
And he's going to have options that are 3 laps fresher than Hoyer's. Hoyer is just entering the final complex.
Gosby's going to be way ahead.
Gosby about to cross the limiter line and go to racing speed. Hoyer just onto the pit straight. Yes, it's probably 5 seconds.
Yeah, Gosby's already into turn 3 as Hoyer coming into turn 2. So it's Gosby's to lose now. Hoyer, though, he's got to be careful, as you mentioned. Daniel Kish right on his gearbox, there to pounce.
And Kiss on his day is super quick. Yeah, 5.5 seconds, so the estimate wasn't far out. Now Hoyer's tyres, of course, are up to working temp and you know, coming into a beautiful operating window. These options, though, you know, half a lap, 3/4 of a lap, and they're feeling pretty good. So Gosby will be up to full speed by now anyway. So it is a battle on track between these top three, separated by 6 seconds after 40 laps of a 52-lap Grand Prix.
Well, if Gosby ever wanted an opportunity to show what he's really got, this is it. Clear track ahead of him. There's plenty of gap behind him. 12 laps to go and complete on brand new tyres to take the win. Michi Hoyer's got to push it a little bit harder. I mean, for him to close the gap, he's got to close it at, what, half a second a lap?
Yeah.
And that's not going to be... I mean, half a second between these WC guys, it's not that easy to find.
No, that's a lot. Now, I tell you who I've noticed whose strategy's worked out beautifully is Journey Simicic. Is now up into P5 from 17th on the grid.
Well, have a little bit more of a look into that one, Dave, because I'm still trying to work out what's going on with that one.
Well, oh yeah, I tell you what, he's still got to use some options. He's still got to run some options because he ran primes for 24 laps. These primes he's been on for 16 laps. So, yeah, somebody, Journey's engineers need to remind him to put some options on.
Well, I could honestly tell you, I haven't got a clue what his strategy is. Because what he hinted his strategy might be, nothing like what he's done. So yeah, I ain't got a clue what he's doing. But we are on, or lap 40 has been completed. We're on lap 41, I believe. Martin Gosby leading the way, and he's opening up the gap to Hoyer a little bit.
Yeah, 6 seconds now to Hoyer, and Hoyer also is feeling some pressure from Kiss. Kiss is now 0.7 of a second or less, and got a really good look at Hoyer's gearbox as they head down the Hangar Straight and approach Stowe, the very fast right-hander, and not much under 200 kilometres an hour on corner entry there. Kiss's car's looking very stable for somebody who's in getting a bit of a whiff of Hoyer's dirty air, I must say.
Well, Francesconi, he's a driver that's lost out massively through that last round of pit stops because he was right up the gearbox of Michi Hoyer. He's now, what, 4.5 seconds behind him. And he's got Journey Simicic catching him up on an old set of prime tyres. So although Francesconi might be pleased with his position at the moment, I think he may feel a little hard done by from the last round of pit stops. I'm just having a look as well with Journey Simicic. He has got another stop to do, so he's going to come back out
9th.
Yeah, it's going to, well, yeah, 8th. It'll be 8th place. He'll come out behind Stefanko. Will he be behind Eras?
Well, he's 12 seconds off. If you add 19 to that, he's going to be 21 seconds off. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be between Stefanko and
nip and tuck
Eras.
between him and Stefanko.
Well, it looks as well like Stefanko is closing the gap a little bit on Daniel Brewer down in 7th and 8th place. Stefanko really pushing the car. I mean, I mentioned to you earlier on, Dave, about this is a season that's not gone well for him, and I mean, this is one of those racetracks where it's a beautiful place to drive. Oh, Brewer just had a massive tank slapper. They're not actually Magnussen Beckett, that's a bit beforehand, but yeah, massive tank slapper, but thankfully it hasn't cost him too much time.
Yes, and for all of Daniel Brewer's innovative strategy, he started, I think, in P7 and he's still in P7. So he was certainly P7 at the end of lap 1. I don't have the qualifying or the grid information here. But certainly a solid drive and a very innovative strategy starting on those primes on a drying track. Certainly the weather's delivered. It's added an edge to the event.
I'm just looking at the qualifying result I had a picture of, and it wasn't showing Daniel Brewer on there, so we might have to go back and check that. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, we mentioned it at the time, being on the prime tyre at the start put himself in a great opportunity. I think he is being caught hand over fist now by Stefanko, though. But Daniel Kish, is he getting closer to Michi Hoyer? Still within sort of half a second or just over.
Yeah, he's just hanging there around half a second, 0.6 of a second, just in that sort of that dirty air window.
Well, Gosby opening up that lead up at the front, up to 9 seconds now. I think he's enjoying himself up there. He's probably wondering what happened to Fran, or I'm sure if he's got an engineer, they would have told him. Closest sort of fight is for second and third at the moment. Simoncic is still close to Francesconi, but Simoncic, as we know, has another pit stop to make. Rudy Van Buren, he'll move up into 5th place, and he's sort of in a comfortable little zone at the moment of not being attacked and not close enough to attack anybody.
Yeah, and Gosby's done this he was outside the top 5 at the beginning. I've got here, he was in position 5th place certainly at the end of lap 1. I'm not sure where he started lap 1. And it was by running long, when everyone else started to pit around lap 15, 16, 17, he inherited the lead and used those laps to put in some fantastic laps, and it was really the lap 16, lap 17 where he punched in some low 132s and caught everybody else napping and moved himself into a really, really strong position.
Well, Gosby, I mean, he did qualify 2nd place, so I'm still keeping an eye on Stefanko catching Brewer here. Gosby did qualify 2nd place, but we've got to remember the start of this race was wet, yeah.
It must have been on the wet side of the grid and got swamped.
He was. He got absolutely mugged along with everybody else on that side of the grid.
Thank you. Well remembered.
So as much as Fran Lopez may feel hard done by with how this race has ended up, I think Gosby at the end of this one's going to be like, rightly so, the start was bloody awful.
Yeah.
Journey
finally, the team's managed to borrow some money and buy some option tyres, and he's coming in to put them on with 8 laps to go. So there's somebody who mustn't like the option very much.
Well, I mean, it's an odd strategy, that's for certain, and it looks like he is going to come out between Stefanko and Eras. I mean, usually you would say, 7 laps on a set of option tyres, it's not enough on them. But maybe it was just a case of, I want to run as long as I can on the prime tyres because nobody's going to overtake me.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll just find a driver who just doesn't get on with one of the compounds. Just the way he sets the car up, the way he gets the car balanced, because the option is reacts very differently.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same tyre compounds the FSR are taking from circuit to circuit, so the option tyre here will be the same option tyre we take to the next track. So drivers that perhaps don't get on with the prime tyre here may get on better with them at the next track. It could be swings and roundabouts in that sense of things. But, I mean, is Simoncic going to be able to catch up to Stefanko? I don't know, because I think Stefanko is kind of being restricted by Brewer at the moment. In the fact that he's in that wake of the dirty air, and there's not a lot he can do as Kish is getting close to Michi Hoyer again. But I have been seeing that every time Kish gets close, he loses the rear end of the car, and it's costing him any opportunity of attacking.
Stefanko was doing mid 131s until he got on Brewer's tail, and now he's doing low 132s, so to mid 132. So yeah, Brewer, Jarno Brewer is definitely holding him up. But that's his job, so not criticising him for it. Well, Stefanko just had a big moment through, I think it's called Farm Curve, turn 2, and had to do some serious corrective action at about 290 kilometres an hour. Yeah, Farm Curve is the turn 2, the left-hander. If you overcommit through Abbey, Farm Curve is where you pay the price. But yeah, he'd be a bit of a frustrated guy at the moment because he's got more pace in hand, but Brewer has always been very, very good at defending. He's a hard guy to overtake. He's got a bit of real-world racing experience in open wheelers up as far as Formula Ford. So Dan is no slouch.
Well, I'm keeping an eye on this battle between Kish and Hoyer, and I kind of get the feeling that if Daniel Kish could actually get close enough to Hoyer to make the move, I think he could pull away. He's looking that quick, being able to stay as close as he is, and it's similar with Stefanko. I mean, you're right, Daniel Brewer is a great driver, but I mean, Stefanko's no slouch either. And it's one of those situations that all the little corrections we see the driver having to make that's costing them a little bit of time. In the clear air, they're not going to have to make those, and that gap could open up. But unfortunately, the guys are just finding it a little bit too difficult to make any kind of an overtake.
So temperature's still sitting at a steady 18 degrees at down in Silverstone, the village of Towcester, and no sign of rain over these closing laps.
Well, now you've said that, he's going to absolutely hammer it down, because everyone was saying it won't rain before qualifying, and
well,
it was an
really funny
almighty
in Ace because Tank Applegate, who was running the cameras, he lives just down the road, so he was looking out the weather and telling me out the window and telling me what the weather was doing. And then 10 minutes later, it would arrive at the track. So we had a weather guy on the circuit almost.
Handy when it's like that. Okay, Kish still struggling with the rear end when he gets close to Hoyer. Stefanko, similar situation. Risto Capit, Masciuli, what's happening with those two? Is that a genuine pass? I think Risto Capit may have had a problem somewhere, because Masciuli is a couple of seconds up the road on him now. I was trying to have a quick look at a replay of that one. Yeah, Risto Capit just ran wide, turn 3, and that's it. Point paying position gone.
Well, I don't think Francesconi is going to be able to challenge Hoyer. I think he's getting a little bit of understeer in the higher speed corners in his car.
You know, Francesconi's he's kind of been losing ground a little bit. He's hovering at 4 seconds, but like I say, the time that he lost in the pit window, it's just time that he can't get back. And as Jurni Simoncic pops in a new fastest lap of the race, I mentioned earlier, is he going to catch Stefanko? I don't think so, although gap 3 seconds, we're on lap 48.
Yeah, 1:30.4. So that's 0.8 quicker than anyone else has gone, but of course he's got low fuel and fresh options. It was almost a qualifying setup.
That is true. So yeah, Francesconi losing time through the pit window. Kish dropped off a little bit from Michi Hoyer. And as daft as it might sound around this track, I probably should have mentioned it earlier, and I'm having another look at Stefanko, as they approach the old turn 1, it can actually be beneficial to drop off a little bit more than Stefanko is here and take the corner flat out. Because without the dirty air, you can take it comfortably flat out, and that gives you a fantastic run into Maggots and Beckett's, which may be what Stefanko's tried to do here, as he's closing that gap, and Brewer looking a little bit twitchy.
Well, guess who's about to join them? Because Journey's going 2 seconds a lap quicker than these guys. He is about to get on the back of this Jarno Brewer train, and let's see if Journey can do anything with fresh options and low fuel, because his options are brand new. Stefanko's are now a few laps old. I don't know, 6 or 7, 8 laps old. Journey is flying. So
well,
this will be interesting. 2 seconds a lap pace in hand. Let's see what happens when he gets to the back of these guys.
Well, how much would that annoy you if you're Stefanko, been stuck behind Brewer for 10, 12 laps, and here comes Simoncic, catches you, overtakes you?
He does that, you know. He did that beautifully in the final round last season at Interlagos. There was a massive fight going on. 4 or 5 guys fighting for a position. Journey arrived from behind, picked them off one by one, and then disappeared into the distance. It was majestic.
Okay, but
who hasn't seen Brazil final round last season, it's worth a look.
Okay, bit of info for you. Daniel Kish has dropped off a little bit from Michi Hoyer. Maybe he's just trying to give himself a tiny little bit of clear air. So the main battle to focus on is the Brewer, Stefanko, Simoncic. battle that Dave's been talking about. So Dave, you're on to keep an eye on that fight for us. That is really the only sort of battle that we've got going on at the moment.
Well, exactly. Four laps left to go. And you know what, Stefanko's rubber, having been in Brewer's dirty air for this long, his options are going to be, you know, too hot. And Journey is going to have a chance to pounce if he's got the top speed. Look at this, he's right on the back of Stefanko's gearbox through Stowe. He's got the tyres to get the job done. They approach the final complex. Little bit of late braking there. And he's full on the gas.
Stefanko lag again.
Stefanko. Wow, that was hairy, that was close. But he was full on the gas so early into club. Flat to the floor to Abbey and Farm Curve and into the village complex now. If he can get a good exit here, he's going to take up the inside. What a move! What a move! He's taken Stefanko up the inside with a beautiful entry into the loop. And he wants Brewer now. He's smelling blood.
I've just got a message from ACR. Yep, Stefanko feels violated. But that's what I was talking about. How annoying would that be?
Dave, you're asking me what you were saying. You didn't know what Simoncic's strategy was. I think we know now.
Actually,
he wanted to be damn quick in the final lap.
Brewer is going for the move. Is he going to go for it into Cop's corner? Yes, he is. Is he ahead? Side by side. There you go.
Oh, awesome. He commanded position there. He got clean air. Brewer is hanging on.
They're still side by side, a little bit of contact, and off they both go. And that frees up Stefanko. Oh dear. Daniel Brewer out of the race. The car in flames. Only one wheel left on it. He'll be furious with that one. I couldn't even begin to tell you exactly how that one went there. But I can tell you that was not part of any plan. So next battle to try and focus on in the last couple of laps of this race is Daniel Kish, who's caught up to the back of Michi Hoyer again. But what devastation for Daniel Brewer there.
Yes, I couldn't get a proper view. I was on board with Simoncic and I was looking sideways out of the car, and I thought Simoncic kind of had the edge. But Brewer, of course, can still command racing room, so it will be up to an investigation after the race to look at the replay and look at all the telemetry and data and see who did what to who. So, but a real shame, because it would have been nice to see that end with a clean pass and a deserved position, because certainly Stefanko's been the recipient of that little bit of largesse.
Yep, so as much as Stefanko felt violated half a lap ago, he doesn't feel as violated as Daniel Brewer might now. I can tell you as well that replay has been shown on YouTube, so the viewers have had a good chance to have a look at it. I've had a look at it as well, and from the camera angle that we had, yeah, I've no idea which way I'd call that. But Gosby still leading this race. Daniel Kish still stuck behind Michi Hoyer. Francesconi comfortable in 4th place, and Rudy Van Buren now sitting in 5th with Stefanko. Perhaps a surprising 6th by the end of this race, but also a frustrated one. But Yerny Simoncic is still not that far behind, and Martin Gosby is now on the last lap of the race. He's on lap 52 of 52, and what a drive he's had here today.
Yeah, I'm just analysing a replay myself at the moment, and yeah, I would have to, you know, I'm not going to say it's a black and white error on anyone's part, but I'd have to say that Simoncic was on the racing line. He was all over the curve, giving most of the track to Brewer. Brewer was on the outside, he'd been passed, and contact occurred. Yeah, tricky. You need to really look at it very, very carefully to make a call on it.
That he would. Okay, Martin Gosby's gone through Maggots and Beckett's for the final time. He's only got 4 corners to go to complete what'll be a home victory for him in the flag-to-flag Brem GP car. And what a result. I mean, a disastrous start, starting from 2nd place on the damp side of the track, getting mugged at the start, dropped down to about 5th or 6th place, but his strategy worked wonders for him. So one more corner, and it's victory for Martin Gosby. 2nd place, Hoyer and Kish, they're nearly side by side. Kish is attacking him down into the final complex cracks the corners, but Hoyer defends it in the middle of the road. A little bit of contact between the two of them, and it looks like Kiss will have to settle for a third place, but he did give it absolutely everything right there and then. So Hoyer second place, Kiss third. Francesconi's going to come home in fourth, while Rudy Van Buren will take a fifth place. And Martin Stefanko did manage to close the gap up quite a little bit to him, but it's going to be a sixth place finish for him. Yerny Simoncic in at seventh place. He'll cross the line. I'm sure I'll find out if he's happy about that one or not. Sergi Eras in eighth place. Only one more corner for him. So not a bad result for the flag-to-flag drivers there. Eighth place for him. Eros Masciuli finishing the race on a set of prime tyres. It'll be ninth place for him. Good result. And Risto Capit, an interesting race for him in the Storm Charge Vodbull racing car. He takes the final points paying position, while Giordano Valeriano will take 11th. John Eric Saxon will cross the line in 12th. Camille Wieswer will take 13th place, and De Woldnell will finish 14th, with unfortunately Daniel Brewer, Fran Lopez, Harley Hamnet, Mohamed Patel, Michele D'Alessandro and Adam Maguire DNFs.
Well, there was certainly some interesting action there, Dave. Very exciting race and very exciting closing laps with some massive battles, albeit not involving Martin Gosby. But the scrap for the podium was certainly well and truly on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is a shame what happened to Fran Lopez there. It did rob us of a fight with Gosby for the victory, but Gosby won't really care about that. All he will care about is that he's taken the victory. And I mean, okay, the incident between Simoncic and Brewer, there's going to be discussions about it, I'm sure, but from a spectator point of view, there'll be some that loved what they saw, and there'll be some that will be disappointed that unfortunately it just couldn't quite carry on for a little bit of a battle. But once again, it showed the effect of having worn tyres compared to brand new tyres and low fuel. I mean, I did not expect Simoncic to be able to close up that gap in that short amount of time, but he was able to do it.
Well, he was flying. Yeah, mid 130s. Well, thanks for having me along for the stream, Dave. Glad I could be of some help, and I hope the viewers have enjoyed it, and we'll be up to full strength as soon as the little overlays have been built to run with DX11.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what DX11 is like when the proper overlays are available. Well, just apologise again, although before I do, I just want to say thank you, Dave, for joining us at short notice in the commentary box. And thank you to George for stepping in during warm-up to help out with the cameras there. And apologies to the viewers for the difficulties during qualifying with the live stream. Sometimes that's the way it goes, and we could all blame Felix van Delft for not being available today, but to be honest, Felix does such a fantastic job that I wouldn't hit him over the head with a hammer on a day that he's not available. But it does just go to show what an excellent job that young man does. But yeah, hopefully we'll have him back on the cameras and in the commentary box for round 8, which will be from Germany. And that'll be on June the 4th. So make sure you come and join us for that. And if you are interested in getting involved in Formula Sim Racing, check out the links in the description. Come and join the forum and have a look at getting involved in the AMA division, which is the lowest divisions in a sort of GP2 style car, and get used to that, get spotted by teams and show what you're capable of doing in there before trying to make that move up to Pro, Ace or the World Championship. Okay, Dave, I just want to say a final thank you, and I hope everybody has a good week ahead.